Can you actually tell what sound a Hebrew Nikkud sign indicates based only on its name? The answer is yes. This video is all about the interesting origins of the names of the Hebrew Nikkud signs. If you're interested in learning what Nikkud is, how to use it, and how to pronounce the different Hebrew vowels properly, then I welcome you to check the first video in this series about Nikkud. I'll add a link in the description. Nikkud refers to the system of vowel indicators, a later addition to Hebrew. For the most part, it is believed that the names of the main Nikkud signs originate from the way each of the sounds they indicate is pronounced. Let's start with patach. The patach is the short line that is meant to indicate the sound of ah. The name patach comes from the root pei tav chet. But let's take a step back here. What's even a root? A root, shoresh in Hebrew, is a set of letters, usually 3, that are used as a basis for creating words that contain a similar common meaning attached to them. With some exceptions, for the most part, those same letters are then used with or without additional letters around them in order to create new words. For example, let's look at the root achal, aleph, chaf, lamed. It is used to create words that have something to do with food or eating. Stemming from this root, we have words such as ochel, which is food, achla, meaning she ate, le'echol, to eat, achil, edible, and even an ancient word that isn't used in modern Hebrew such as ma'achelet, which was a carving knife used for cutting meat. You can think of these words as fruits that have evolved from the root. While they've been modified and changed, they still encapsulate the essence of the root inside of them. This understanding can actually become very useful whenever you're not sure what a certain word means. In many cases, you would actually be able to accurately guess the meaning based on how a word sounds, especially if you have the appropriate context. So let's go back and look at patach. The root pei tav chet is a root associated with words that relate to being open. You may be familiar with the word patuach, meaning open in Hebrew. The patach is the vowel indicator for the sound of ah, and the word refers to the opening of the mouth when you say ah, patach. Let's move on to the kamatz. The root of kamatz is kuf mem tzadi. Words that come from this root are related to shrinking, narrowing down, tightening, making smaller. You may be familiar with the word kamtzan that comes from the same root. A kamtzan is a stingy person, a person who holds on tightly to what they have and doesn't like to share. The kamatz indicates the sound of ah for the most part, but it can also indicate the sound of o. The name kamatz relates to the way the mouth is shaped when making this sound, a sort of tightening of the lips, o, making them smaller and more narrow. In a way, the opposite of the open ah, o. Then we have the tzere, segol, and shva, indicating the S sound, though shva also indicates the absence of a vowel. All 3 of those signs are believed to stem from Aramaic. The word tzere comes from an Aramaic word that means a narrow crack or opening, probably to indicate the shape of the mouth when pronouncing e. Segol is believed to be rooted in the Aramaic word for cluster, as in a cluster of grapes. In this case, actually referring to the graphical representation of the sign, which can look like a cluster of grapes. The shva is believed to originate from an Aramaic word relating to equality, referencing the 2 equal dots in the sign, one above the other. You may be familiar with the Hebrew word shaveh, which sounds very similar, meaning equal. The cholam is another representation of the sound of O, and it is believed to be related to the root chet lamed mem in the sense of becoming stronger and better, such as in the word yachlim. He will heal, he will become stronger and better. It is believed to be related to the full, strong and rich O sound the cholam is meant to indicate. Chirik comes from the root charak, chet resh kuf, of words relating to making creaking or squeaking high-pitched sound, as in the E sound indicated by the chirik. The shuruk is one of the two indicators for the sound of U, and it stems from the root sharak, shin resh kuf, related to words connected to whistling. You might be familiar with lishrok, meaning to whistle. As you can probably guess, it refers to a whistling sound that can sometimes be heard when tightening the lips, making the sound of U. The kibbutz is the second indicator of the sound of U. The word kibbutz means gathering or grouping together. It refers to the way the lips are sort of grouped together when making U. U. Now at this point you might say, Tal, that sounds really nice and all, but I've never even heard the word kibbutz before. The actual name for this sign is kubutz. Well, if this is what you just said, then there are two things you should know. If this is what you just said, then one, realize that you just spoke to a computer screen. I'm not really there. I can't hear you. There's no need for that. And two, you're actually not wrong. While kibbutz is the proper and more formal way of naming this sign, kubutz is the colloquial way of saying it. And while it is a mispronunciation, it is entirely accepted. And in fact, it is way more common than kibbutz. It is way more commonly used than kibbutz. So the question arises then, why? If you already have a perfectly valid name for a sign, which also makes sense, why change it? Well, here's something really cool that can help you relate the name of the sign to the sound it indicates. Notice that the first syllable of the name of each sign actually contains the sound the sign is meant to indicate, making relating the sign to the sound so much easier. You have the patach and the kamatz. Both have the sound they indicate hidden in the first syllable of each. Patach, kamatz. And you have the tsere and segol. Both have the sound they indicate, hidden in the first syllable of each. Tsere, segol. And of course you have the chirik indicating E, the cholam indicating O, and the shuruk indicating U. It even works with our cute little shva, which represents the absence of a vowel, as indeed happens in the sh of shva. I can only imagine how exciting it must have been for the people hundreds of years ago when they realized that there's actually a system within the system. But at the same time, how shocked they must have been when they realized that one sign decided to be rebellious. Kibbutz doesn't fit. It's supposed to indicate the sound of U. So according to this theory, it should be pronounced as kubutz and not kibbutz. So they did the only thing they could do. After all, why let the actual facts destroy a perfectly valid system? And because people wanted a system to work, they just started naturally pronouncing it in a way that made more sense. And it stuck. Kibbutz was turned into kubutz, and peace was restored upon the land. The sound of U is at last back where it belongs, in the first syllable of the sign indicating it. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to write your comments below. I'd love to read them. Thank you so much for watching.